The circus, since its very beginning, has been a place capable of welcoming people considered different or special. Often these individuals were exploited and treated inhumanly, exhibited as curiosities, but at the same time they were able to tell incredible stories and show extraordinary talents. Today I invite you to take a dive into the past, to discover DC real figures with extraordinary physical characteristics who have graced the stages of circuses and freak shows. DC, Frank Lentini. Born in 1899 in Sicily, Francesco Lentini came into the world with a unique feature: 3 perfectly formed legs. Nicknamed the three-legged man, he amazed the public with his extraordinary appearance. The third limb, which grew on his left side, was complete with a femur, knee, and even toes. In total, Francesco grew to have 16 toes. Doctors hypothesized that it was a twin partially absorbed during pregnancy. At just 9 years old, he moved to the United States with his father, where he met the showman Giuseppe Magnano, who introduced him to the world of the circus. Despite everything, Lentini managed to lead a relatively normal existence. He married and fathered 4 children, living until 1966 at the age of 77. Before continuing, I remind you, if you haven't and #Trinov already done so, to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. But now let and #Trinovs continue. Nov, Camel Girl. Ella Harper, nicknamed Camel Girl because of her backward knees, was born in 1870 in Tennessee. She suffered from congenital genu recurvatum, a rare condition that made it difficult for her to walk upright, so much so that she often crawled on all 4s. At 16, she was noticed by circus managers who introduced her to the traveling show. Dressed in exotic costumes, she earned $2 a week, a considerable amount for the time. However, Ella wanted a different life. She left the spotlight to devote herself to the study of literature, writing, and mathematics, and thus disappeared from the world of show business. Otto, La Minnesota Woolly Girl. The star of the Minnesota freak shows was Alice Doherty, known as the Minnesota Woolly Girl. Born in Minneapolis in 1877, she had a case of hypertrichosis lanuginosa, an abnormal growth of hair from early childhood. Her face and body were covered with a thin layer of blonde hair, which over time became increasingly thick, reaching up to 9 inches in length on her cheeks and arms. Noticed by some promoters when she was still a child, she was exhibited as the most extraordinary hairy girl in the world. Despite everything, Alice maintained a lively and cheerful character, traveling during her adolescence in various states of the Midwest. Later, she moved to Dallas, got married, and dedicated herself to a quiet life, with hobbies such as gardening and reading. She died at only 20 years old. Set, the Siamese twins. Among the most iconic figures of freak shows are Chang and Ing Bunker, often remembered as the Siamese twins. Born in 1870 in a small fishing village in Thailand, the two shared a flap of fleshy tissue about 15 centimetri long at the level of the sternum and had a partial fusion of the livers, making any surgical intervention of the time impossible. At Dishyaset, they were noticed and entered into a show called Siamese Double Boys, which was a huge success in both the United States and Europe. In addition to their anatomical curiosity, Chang and Ing were astute in their self-management of their performances and finances. In 1940, they retired, settling in North Carolina. Both married, had large families, then two children between them, and became local legends. Sai, the living skeleton. In the XIX century circus, the freak show often hosted people capable of distorting the collective imagination. Isaac W. Sprague, better known as the living skeleton, was one of these. Born in Miliato Santo Corantuno in Massachusetts, he was in good health as a child, but around the age of 12, he began to lose weight drastically, until he weighed just 19. Doctors at the time were unable to accurately diagnose his condition, now known as muscular atrophy. At 24, he signed a contract with the famous P.T. Barnum to perform as Skeleton Man. Despite his frailty, Isaac was a kind and loving person, marrying twice and having 3 children. When he died in Miliato Santatentaset at the age of 46, his body was donated to Harvard, contributing to important medical discoveries. Cinque, Schlitzie, the Pinhead. One of the most famous freak show artists of the 20th century was undoubtedly Schlitzie, born Simon Metz around Miliato Santoventuno in the Bronx, affected by microcephaly, a neurological disorder that causes a significantly smaller skull and brain. Schlitzie remained throughout his life with cognitive abilities similar to those of a very young child. However, his playful nature and sweetness made him a hugely popular attraction on both the freak show circuit and in Hollywood. Billed as the missing link, he began his career at Coney Island in the Dishano Fentis. Although often considered a curiosity, Schlitzie was beloved by many of his peers and found a place where he truly felt at home. Quattro, the human torso. Prince Randian, born in Miliato Santoventuno in British Guiana, was born with tetra amelia syndrome, meaning he had no arms or legs, only short stumps. Despite his obvious disability, his parents encouraged him from an early age to be as independent as possible. At Disciato, he joined the circus, where he was presented as the human torso or snake man. He achieved fame thanks to his incredible skills. He could smoke, paint, and even sew using his lips and tongue. His intelligence and ability to get out of any situation fascinated the public. Married and the father of 4, he even took part in the cult film Freaks in Millenovecento Trenta, leaving an indelible mark on the world of entertainment. Tre, the Elephant Man. Among the most famous characters of Victorian freak shows is Joseph Merrick, nicknamed the Elephant Man. Born in Miliato Santo in Leicester, England, he showed physical abnormalities from childhood: irregular skin, conspicuous facial deformities, and a skeletal disorder attributable to Proteus syndrome. Sensitive and intelligent by nature, Joseph grew up in a climate of marginalization. After his mother and #Trenova's death, his father took him away from home. At Disciato, he was approached by manager Sam Torr, who included him in some traveling shows. Although his job allowed him relative independence, it forced him to suffer the often cruel curiosity of the public. He found some peace only in the hospital, thanks to Dr. Frederick Treves, until his death at only 27 years old. General Tom Thumb. In an era when eccentric shows drew crowds from around the world, the collaboration between impresario P.T. Barnum and his child star Charles Stratton, better known as General Tom Thumb, became an international phenomenon. Born in Miliato Santo Trentado in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Charles looked like an ordinary newborn, but by 6 months old it was obvious that he would not exceed 25 inches, 65 centimetri, in height. Barnum, a cousin of Charles and #Trenova's father, immediately recognized his potential as a big shot. At just 4 years old, Stratton began performing under Barnum and #Trenova's watchful direction, dressed as a miniature general, dancing, singing, and doing impressions that wowed audiences. Lobster Boy. The story of Grady Stiles Jr., known as Lobster Boy, reveals the darkest and most ruthless side of the circus. Born in Pennsylvania in the early 1900s, he came from a family of carnival performers afflicted by ectrodactyly, a malformation that causes hands and feet similar to lobster claws. His form was particularly severe, affecting both hands and feet. From a young age, Grady enjoyed considerable success in sideshows, earning up to $0.000 a week. However, his private life was a constant drama. His alcoholism and aggressive behavior made him a feared figure, especially within his family. The violence culminated in tragedy when, after years of abuse, his wife and stepson hired a hitman to kill him in his sleep. Thanks for following this exploration among the most unique and incredible characters that have ever stepped into the circus tent. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content. Stay with us to discover other fascinating stories and curiosities from all over the world. See you soon.